You may have noticed with the decline of tradition in the UK and the modern Western world that we no longer respect ideas of the elder, the notion of an older patriarchal male in the family, in politics, in the workplace, in sports, someone who can guide younger men through a tricky time of their life and introduce them to wisdom. Such men, in my view, while you may not understand them when you're young, in time create a lot of stability and security for society. And without them, we have what we have now, a lot of chaos and social degradation and violence on the streets and so forth. I think this is why the great traditions and civilizations always valued the development of men. However, our modern world doesn't really do that at all, and it leads to people like this young Labour MP in the North East.
I grew up in quite a deprived rural area in the northeast of England.
Now, firstly, I know this kid looks like the movie character Megamind, but let's try not to be too nasty about his immutable characteristics he can't help. And secondly, this young man plays into the Blairite playbook like a hand in a glove. Despite stating he came from a deprived area in the northeast, he went to a £32,000 a year private school and went to Cambridge University. Now, to be clear, I don't care that he went to a private school, and good for him for getting into Cambridge University, can't have been easy. But what bothers me is when these Labour MPs try and act like salt-of-the-earth people, when most of them are far more privileged than 99% of people in the country. But the real kicker to this young man is his response to the question whether you need actual life experience and actual connection with real people to be an MP leading the country. This is his response.
You graduated from Cambridge University, you're clearly a bright guy. A slightly trickier question then. One of the criticisms of MPs is that they are, many of them don't have real world experience. You've touched on some of it there, but at 22, can you really offer real world experience and to bring that to the House of Commons?
Well, I have a lot of experience that older members of Parliament won't. I've been renting insecure housing in the private sector for quite a while now, and that's an issue facing not just young people, but people all across the age spectrum. And it's something that I intend to do a lot of work on now that I'm in Parliament. So I always get a little bit frustrated when people mention life experience, because no one has yet been able to explain to me why being older makes you better at the job.
We've got more experience, I think that's why.
But what kind of experience?
Well, by definition, over the years, you gain more experiences, don't you?
But what kind of experience, right?
What life experience?
No one's been able to. Well, we're going around in a circle there, aren't we?
Good for you, Stu. No, good for you batting back. But
I think the most obvious problem with someone being so young in such a position of authority is how that little interaction ends. The presenter himself, to an MP, says good for you for batting back. What other MP would a presenter say that to? Now, treating someone quite literally in this case with kid gloves doesn't really seem like the best way to approach something as important as politics. Second to that, let's be honest, most of us were idiots at 22. I was pretty much a radical leftist. You'll have to let me know if this is just me in the comments, but it feels like you need to actually go and live your life a bit, go through some heartbreaks and challenges in life to mature your perspectives on how the world really works.
I've done quite a lot for my age as well. I mean, I've been a councillor for a couple of years and a cabinet member responsible for about £17 million of public money over the last year. I've been a trustee of a university, and I've done a lot of other things that perhaps wouldn't necessarily be typical for someone of my age.
I'm sure this fella's a nice guy with good intentions deep down, but it just seems to me like he's going through this new Oxbridge pipeline. You're born, you go to private school, you go to Oxbridge, and then you're an MP, with no life experience in between. Now, while I believe in tradition and elders as a much more stable guide for society rather than this worship of the young we have at the moment, there is an obvious counterpoint to all of this, and that's Joe Biden. Of course, I'm aware there are some people that are just too old to be in politics. If you're struggling to string a sentence together, follow a basic conversation, and get lost when walking off stage, you're clearly a bit past it. Anyway, these are just some of my views. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.